welcome to Miraculous Mamas. I have a very exciting episode for you today. I have Dr. Patrick Flynn on. I'm going to introduce him in just a minute. He is known as the Hormone Whisperer, and he's going to bring us a different approach on things. He wrote a book called I Disagree. He is into functional medicine, and he's going to talk to us about how to decrease stress in your body and how to balance your hormones. He works with people with infertility, digestion, allergies, all sorts of different stuff. And I am super excited that he wanted to come on the podcast and educate us and teach us something new today that hopefully we can apply into our lives. So I'm going to bring him on. All right, guys, I have Dr. Patrick Flynn here with me. He is the founder of The Wellness Way, and he's an international speaker and author, and he kind of got passionate about healthness. I don't know what healthness is, but I guess you got passionate about that, about health and nutrition, and kind of through your own journey, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk to you guys and your audience.
Yes. So one thing that he is kind of an expert at is balancing hormones, which is something that's raging through all of our bodies. So I'm really excited to get some information from you. I have some personal questions, and I'm sure that you just have so much knowledge to drop with the listeners here today.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. People kind of find it funny that the majority of this discussion today is going to be about female hormones, because that's what I've been known for almost 20 years now. And just to give your audience for the podcast, I'm not a woman. Okay. So it's kind of funny. So people always say, Doc, how'd you become such an expert? Well, I always believe this. No matter what happens in life, we all have experiences, and nobody can take those experiences away from them. And my journey actually started, and I'm a Wisconsin boy. I grew up north of Green Bay, and you're in Chicago, so we have this great Midwest weather and everything. Mm-hmm. But I was a child that suffered as illness when I was a child. I actually was diagnosed as a juvenile delinquent. They thought I was going to be in jail. Wow. They thought that I had something mentally wrong with me. Well, to fast forward through that process, I started to learn about health at a young age at 13.
Wow, and that's so young.
Yeah, but here's what happens. But my experience as a child was sick, and I was going to doctors with no answers. And so it's like anybody, you'll find out some of the greatest success stories in anything in life comes from somebody's experience. Well, my experience as a young child wasn't a good one. Yeah. You can imagine you sit in front of counselors, and they look at your parents saying, he's going to be in prison someday. I sat there as a child and listened to that. And didn't realize my brain was always going 100 miles an hour. I was hypersensitive. They would classify me as Asperger's today and stuff if that was the case. But that started my adventure. But that's not how I got into female hormones. I decided I wanted to go to school to get my nutritional degree, get my master's. I went to chiropractic school. I went to naturopathic school. And I started to conglomerate a different way of thinking. But it really came about when I was about 24 years old, when I met this beautiful woman. And I kid you not, Liz. On the first day I met her, we hung out. And on the second day that we started dating, she looked at me and said, I'm going to marry you.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. And on the second day, and I looked at her, I said, I think you're right.
Oh, my gosh.
Into our dating life, about 2 weeks after we were sharing each other's hearts and what we want to do that way, after 2 weeks, I went to her to visit her, and she was crying immensely. And as a man, I'm going, oh, what'd I do? Okay.
Right.
And she was like, and she said, no, come sit down. We have to talk. Now, Liz, imagine this. And I saw you recently married. Okay. Yes. Imagine your wonderful husband just looked at you and said, honey, we got to talk. Mm-hmm. Well, immediately you get a pit in your stomach. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, she decided to tell me a story about her experience as a young lady into adulthood at 22 years old right now. She just started to menstruate that day. Mm-hmm. And her cycle is so bad that she can barely get through a day. She had to take off work. She's actually been suffering with endometriosis, adenomyosis, ulcerative colitis, and she was told that she could never have children.
Wow.
So here's a woman I met in a very short time that I truly did, Liz, fall in love with deeply, okay? And what happened is, but I had to make a choice because I did want a big family. And I said, and I had a choice, do I stay with her or do I She even said, she goes, maybe we should break up because I know you want a family someday. And I looked at her, believe it or not, and fast forward in the story, I looked at her, I said, you're going to be just fine. And the fast forward story even more, today we have 4 beautiful daughters.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. And so the story came from, but the experience and the story in between that day she looked at me and said, I'm sick as can be, I can't have kids, to today, Wellness Way clinics, speaking, books all over the world now and stuff like that, and still changing women's lives all over the world. And it happens daily. There was a process that went through there. There was a process that all of a sudden I said, okay, listen, what have they been doing with you? She's been seeing doctors that wanted to help her. She was taking medications. She was taking natural stuff. She was doing a bunch of stuff. And then I said, let me see what's going on. And I looked at all the stuff. And Liz, at 24 years old, I'm just becoming a doc. I'm actually young. I have no pull in anything. Nobody knows who I am, things like that. And I looked at what everybody was telling her, and I said, you want something? I disagree. I believe that how they're looking at this is completely wrong. And it's no different today. It's actually even worse today for female healthcare than it even was 20 years ago. Yeah. Okay? And so I started investigating, and I started to see things differently. And so therefore, when I looked at a woman, their physiology, biochemistry that way, I look at it so dramatically different that you can see the best endocrinologist, OB, everything in the world. They still won't see it like we do. And this is why I actually was convinced by people to put the Hormone Connection book together, to do these things that way. Because I'm a clinician. You say, I still practice a little bit because I absolutely love it. But really what happens is I've looked at how the female body, for example, is so misunderstood today that the sad part is, and people say, well, Doc, I disagree with you. I say, okay, well, let's look at stats. There's more pink ribbons. There's more breast cancer awareness. Yeah. There's more cancer. There's more diabetes. There's more every female condition in history. There's more surgeries, everything in history. And we have more doctors, nurses, natural things, everything in the world at our disposal by the click of the internet, by the click of technology, yet women are continuing to get sicker. It's time to think differently, and that's what I've been able to do, and then clinically get the results that still blow people's minds away today.
Yeah, I feel like, that's absolutely amazing that you've taken this different approach and been able to see things differently. But I know I was recently talking with a doctor friend of mine, and we were just talking about the crazy increase of rates in things just like infertility and and even like endometriosis. And it's like, well, are people just more aware of these things now? Or is it because like it wasn't talked about before and now women have a voice? But when you look at a lot of the data, it's actually these things are increasing. More and more women are, especially with like infertility or preset menopause and things like that. So, I don't know where to look for the answers. I tend to look at diet first and then, be like, okay, is there something that I'm eating that's messing with my levels of something, and then moving forward. But that's why I'm super excited that you're here today.
I believe I can give you and your audience within 2 minutes a very different perspective that you've never heard, but I must warn you, if I talk beyond this going forward, I'm going to mess up your thinking for the rest of your life.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Sign me up.
Because you'll never be able to go back. Okay. Okay. So let's go. So walk through this with me, because I guarantee you'll have some aha moments, and you'll say, and I'm going to give you what we're going to say from 2 minutes from now. You're going to say, why don't we think like this? Yeah. Okay. Let's do this, Liz. I have a question for you, being a woman. Okay. Let's take your awesome husband. Good looking stud. I'm seeing him right on the computer right now. But let's take that good looking stud of your husband. Yeah. What hormone dictates his life? If you just pick one hormone, what dictates his life?
I guess the general answer would be testosterone.
That's right. Testosterone, just one hormone. Now, he has all but one hormone. That makes him who he is, okay? Right. It gives us our GER, gives us our aggressiveness. It's great. Now, let's look at women, Angela. Let's take you, for example. What is the major hormone that makes you who you are?
I guess you would say estrogen.
Yeah, estrogen. Well, let me ask you a question. Is estrogen a hormone?
Ooh. I think, I've been told yes. I have a feeling you're going to tell me no.
No, it's not a hormone.
Oh my God.
Estrogen is not a hormone. Estrogen is a term that describes multiple hormones, over 10. So here's a question for you. So if you actually have excess estrogens, you'll be wearing the little pink ribbon right here. That's why most women that have breast cancer, the first drug that they get is an aromatase inhibitor to downplay the estrogens. Because if they're elevated, cancer. If they're low, it's depression, osteoporosis, everything on the planet. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why on your Instagram yesterday, when you said, you say, what remedies can you do? Remember your Instagram yesterday?
Yeah.
I said, check your estrogens. Okay? Because here's what happens. So I got a question for you. You're 31 years old, correct?
32. I turned 32 a couple months ago.
32. So if there's multiple estrogens and it dictates everything from how you sleep, your attitude, fertility, cancer, everything on the planet. Let me see a question. How many times have you had all those estrogens measured?
I've never in my life.
Thank you. So then how can we assess a woman? It's like sitting at the TV, watching TV, and me and my beautiful wife are sitting there going, oh, look, and we see a preview of a movie and go, looks like a damn good movie. Then you go to the movie, you get the whole picture, and it sucks.
Right.
Today for women is a small snapshot trying to make a judgment on their whole body. So I looked at my wife's labs. I said, listen, they didn't do anything wrong. They tested estradiol, but it was incomplete testing. How can we assess women's bodies and make judgments from drugs, surgeries, and everything that we do with them, natural products, foods, everything, with an incomplete view of a woman's body?
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
That simple thing alone. Thank you. What did I tell you?
Yeah.
I said within 2 minutes, you're going to say, it doesn't make sense. So I'm 24 years old. I'm sitting there going, Eureka, I think I found something. So what happened? I started sharing it with colleagues. I started sharing with doctors. I started sharing with OB. I started sharing all of these ideas with people. And I'm thinking that they're going to be, this is great. This is awesome. You're onto something. It came with massive resistance.
Oh, I'm sure.
But here, I'm 24 years old. I'm looking at things differently. I believe I have an ability to actually show you scientifically everything and stuff like that. All stuff like this. And I was rejected massively.
Yeah.
And I sat there, I still remember this, as a young man sitting there going, why wouldn't people want to know? Why wouldn't doctors want to know this? Why wouldn't things want to know this way? And I said, you know something? I felt alone. Alone. And I said, either I'm going to continue on this path of this view of healthcare and try to fit in, or I'm going to say, you know something? It's not about me. It's not about this. It's about all these women out there that are not taught properly. And so I said, okay. When I got down on one knee and proposed to my wife, I said, listen, honey, I want you to marry me. But before you do, I must warn you, this is going to be the roughest road you ever take being married to me. Not because of me and you, but because I'm going to go against the world for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And the thing was this. When I started to do it and I started clinical results, and I built my whole career just on fertility alone, what happened is this. Then people started to take notice. Now, 20 years later, guess what happens? Doctors, big networks, people all over things. Because why? Because now what happens is this. You can't deny what we've done. It doesn't mean it still doesn't come out with big resistance. I get hate mail every single day. That's okay. But I will continue to not let women move forward in their own healthcare with an incomplete picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
See, I never said do food, do supplements, do drugs. I said you don't even know what they need if you don't figure out what each woman's body needs in the first place. A person comes and says, Doc, I take multiple medications. How do you know I need it? Well, my doctor gave me. Doc, I take 10 supplements. How do you know you need it? Well, my naturopath gave it to me. It's actually, that's why I kind of get frustrated when we try to look at women all the same. Mm-hmm. And the sad part is today, if you look at healthcare and women in the medical realm, they really look at women like horses. Mm. They do. The majority of hormone therapy for women comes from horse urine. You see, Em? And I've seen some pretty ugly women, but none that look like a horse. So
it comes from horse urine? What?
Horse urine. The majority of hormone therapy comes from horse urine. Now, the great thing about the internet, you say, Doc, I disagree with you. Okay, go look it up. Fact check it. See, Premarin, which is actually the major medication over the age of 40 they give women, especially in their 50s and postmenopausal, actually is extracted from pregnant mare urine. They use pregnant horses to actually extract because, once again, urine, they used to do it from humans. Actually, if you go back to the history of hormones, Actually, a Chinese emperor was first recorded hundreds of years ago, where he used to actually have women and men pee in troughs, and then it dehydrate. They take a little gummy substance, run it in the dehydrated urine that way, eat it, and they found that the women actually were healthier, happier. The guys actually, guess what? They were stronger and stuff like that. So that's actually been documented for hundreds of years.
That is so weird.
How hormonal aspects use. Yeah. You say it, and a lot of people know this is basic history. Okay, I told you I was going to blow your mind away today.
I'm sure it's basic history, but I don't think a lot of people know this.
They don't, but see what? But you know something? All I go out and speak stuff that they can do, and some people get dang right mad. You see, and because you start changing people's thinking, guess what happens? You think I thought what I thought really as a young man, and we see this today. We see this today. If people are on a certain track, even if they're going down the wrong path, if all you get to do is to think a little differently, they will fight you to their death. And that's where they're headed.
Yeah.
You see, I have people that have been through 15 surgeries by their doctors and everything like that, and they still tell me their doctors are smart. Like, what are you accomplishing with that doctor? Oh, well, he's a really nice guy. Good, he's a nice guy. Send him a Christmas card.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, they build their relationships with them. And there is a difference between medical school and, you know, some of the things maybe that they're doing versus the things that you're doing. And I think that the medical industry, because I get this because I work as a doula. So everyone assumes that I do everything all natural and I only do all natural births and things like that, which is not true. Most of my births are in a hospital with an epidural, and people think, oh, you only do voodoo or whatever. And I'm like, only on the weekends. But I, you know, I feel like there is some sort of, there's such a controversy between like Western medicine and Eastern medicine, or medical doctors and people who are doing things naturally, where, and it tends to be like, well, you know, I get that on the podcast. Sometimes people are like, well, you had this guest on who just talked bad about medical industry and I'm a doctor. And it's like, I think that we're like, the point of this is we're all on the same team. I want people to be healthy and happy and to figure out what's wrong with them and to just be educated on your options out there, knowing, hey, if you want to check this out, you can. If you want to check that out, you can. You got to figure out your path and just be educated that there are options out there to dig deeper.
And I ran into that when I first started practice. When I first started practice, I'd look at people and said, your tests are incomplete. And they say, you tell me what my doctor is wrong. I said, no, it's incomplete. Okay. So I had to come up with analogies because I absolutely love analogies because it gives a great distinction. So I created an analogy. Well, I'm 44 now. So I was 25. I created an analogy that I think that has now gone viral all over the world. Okay. That will give you a big distinction, because this is when I start practice and I start talking about this, people may listen and say, well, doc, you're against drugs or surgery. Well, let me give you an example that I believe that sums it up. Okay. So Liz, let's say this. Let's say that you live in a house and all of a sudden you get home one night and it's on fire. You're going to call the fire department because they're the best trained professional to handle that fire. Okay. But if you look at what the fire department really uses to put out that fire, they really have two tools, axes and hoses. Okay. And think about this, Liz. They're going to come in a fire truck. The guy's going to grab the axe, going to smash your door, smash your window. The guy with the hose is going to run there. He's going to spray inside your house, put out the fire. And if he accomplishes it in the first 15 minutes, what has he done to your house so far?
Put the fire out.
He destroyed your house.
Right.
You stand there grateful, and you stand there grateful.
You're right.
You follow me in that? See, because they statistically said it's better to stop the house from burning down and rebuild it. Okay. Now, let's say the fire department got there on time, did a good job, and guess what? Put out the fire. Would you ever ask the fire department to help you rebuild the house with an axe and a hose?
Right. No.
No, you need a different professional. You need to call a carpenter. Now, because even you giggled a little bit when I said, ask the fire department to help you rebuild the house with axe and hoses. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because not his job, it's not his education. Now, let's say that you need to call a carpenter. Let's say the carpenter comes in when the fire department's still there and the fire's out. The fire department's looking going, dang, I did a good job. The carpenter's looking at the same house going, what a freaking mess. Mm-hmm. You destroyed this thing. You see what I'm saying? But you saved the house. God bless you. Thank you. Now get out. Let me do something because it's my job to clean out this house, rip it out, rebuild the house. Okay? Yeah. Now, if you think this way, they're both right based on the need of the house. That's healthcare today. Mm-hmm. See, we have a healthcare today that, for example, is based all in the fire department. Mm-hmm. See, that's why you actually have people get a little emotional when they actually talk about their doctors. Because just because they can save a life, just as they can put out a fire, they said, so someone has a heart attack, God bless. Because why? In the United States, we're second in emergency care in the world. Because why? We've created techniques, fire department techniques, axes and hoses, drugs and surgery to save the house. Do you know how happens this, Liz? There's a lot of people that actually are walking around with burnt up houses, and the fire department screen them, say, you've had this heart attack, take this medication, water down your house for the rest of your life. But that rots house out. And you have people like us saying, listen, I'm not the fire department. God bless, we have you, because if you break your arm, you have a heart attack, you're going to die. God bless, we have drugs and surgery to keep you alive. But here's one thing where I get very frustrated with. That's not healthcare. That's managing fires. That's making sure the house doesn't burn down. And when I'm sitting there going, listen, every house is different, and you need to figure out what it needs, rebuild it, and figure out how to rebuild it. And there's triggers to fires. See, that's the big difference in healthcare. So when people come to me and say, oh, doc, here, think of this way. So, and I mean this sincerely. See, all my babies were born at home. You're saying, I had 4 awesome, beautiful girls, all born at home, 1 in the bed, 2 in a tub, last one on the floor because she couldn't even make it to the tub. It happened so fast. Okay. The midwife barely got there. You're saying, and here's what happens. See, we've depended solely on a fire department thinking. That's why you say, doc, why is it that this basic concept of just getting women tested when they're young and actually making sure their hormone levels stay normal is not so well accepted? Because the dominant thinking is fire department thinking. That's why people say we need more awareness. Do you really think we need more breast cancer awareness? Honestly. Do you really think we need? No, we do not.
We need more answers to breast cancer.
Thank you. So you need a different way of thinking, because breast cancer goes up dramatically every year. And we have more money, more healthcare, more doctors, more research spent on breast cancer in history.
And yet it's increasing.
Thinking how we approach it. Thank you. Because once again, I always said this, give a dumb idea more money, you just have an expensive dumb idea. That's what people say. It's kind of funny. Get this. Go across seas. They say, doc, what we need is universal health care. Okay, let's go over to Europe and Sweden, which, for example, we have an office in Sweden where there is universal health care. They don't pay for our stuff, but universal health care. Guess what happens to the rate of breast cancer over there?
What?
Dramatically increasing.
Oh, wow.
Because the same thinking that perpetuates it doesn't matter who takes care of it, who pays for it, stuff like that. You can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that got you into that problem.
Yeah.
Can't. You need different thinking. So I've always said, so when I come around and say, hey, listen, here's where you need to assess a woman's body, and here's how their hormones, everything get thrown off, and why their estrogen levels go off. And you're right. Guess what? That's why our current healthcare system will laugh at you, Liz, if you say nutrition can affect a person's hormones. You say, no, it doesn't, Doc. Yes, it does. See, that's where I can get a little frustrated and can be a little bit aggressive with them, because I watch them give very bad, deadly advice a lot. They'll tell, there's OBs that say nutrition has nothing to do with your health. You and I would laugh at that and say, well, we know that different. Yes, but most public people don't, because they've been trained in fire department and medical thinking since they were little. So now to try to get them to do it that way, by the time they come to people like us, they've already been through the ringer. They've already been through tough stuff. So that's why I just say, I'm just going to keep on going and preaching what actually makes sense to people. And on top of it, no one can argue with clinical results. Nobody can argue watching things happen and watching people that spent $250,000 on infertility treatments all over the country and actually then finally came to us and got pregnant. Okay? Because why? We have do you understand? I can honestly tell you this, in 20 years, in over 50,000 labs plus that I've looked at, I'm going to underestimate, I still have never seen one woman come in properly and have their hormones tested right. You even explained to me just 15 minutes ago, you still have not had it done right. Make sense?
I mean, I'm not sure I've ever done a full panel hormonal test, I guess. I was having probably 4 or 5 years ago, I worked with a homeopathologist who I was feeling just like a little lethargic, just not really myself. And she did some labs on me, and my T3 and T4 were off for my thyroid. But she was also explaining to me, if you go to like regular doctors, they just test thyroid. They don't break it down to T3, T4, and a little bit further. But I did work with her for, taking the natural path for me took way longer than just getting a pill that's going to automatically make me feel better. It took about a year and a half for that to balance out and for me to feel like myself again. And a lot of it was stress too. I was working nightlife at the time. So I'd get home at 3, 4 in the morning. And I just realized if I'm in bed at a decent time, if I'm getting my nocturnal clock or my circadian rhythm back on, that helps me a lot. But I mean, I recently did a hormone thing to test, I think it was like your fertility. Basically, they can tell you how fertile you are for how old you are. And I guess I have the average number of eggs for a 32-year-old, but my prolactin's a little high, which is the hormone you produce when you're breastfeeding. So I'm like, that's interesting because I'm not breastfeeding. I don't know why my prolactin's high.
Well, do you want me to give you some advice?
Yes, I do.
Whenever I see major hormone dysregulation, when things don't add up, one of the major tests I do is prolactin. Okay. And you say, well, doc, they're not breastfeeding. No, but when prolactin is elevated, it starts to show a pituitary tumor.
Oh.
That's why if you look at the labs, it says pituitary tumor in there and stuff like that. So then what happens is scar tissue on the pituitary. And that's why if I receive prolactin high, I send them to get an MRI right away to see if there's any scar tissue there, because that can cause some hormonal dysregulation.
Interesting.
Yes. So all the people watching right now, Google prolactin and go to any medical websites you want right now and actually look at this, one of the major things and stuff like that. So yes, so when it comes across that way, for example, I had a woman that came in actually from our Louisville office down in Kentucky, and what happened is her hormone levels were not matching up on abnormal hormones. And what happens is all of a sudden what I do, I said, listen, her TSH is low, and T4 and T3 are low. That shouldn't be that way. TSH should be extremely high. I said, there's got to be some pituitary dysregulation. Ran prolactin really high, sent her MRI. There was actually, now remember, when you say the word tumor, it scares people, but really it's scar tissue. They call it the pituitary tumor.
Okay.
So it's like a scar tissue on there. So yes. So if you do look at breastfeeding, things like that, relates prolactin, but what happens is that when people see it's one of the major labs done to actually check for that. So yes. But just let you know.
Yeah.
What labs do.
Thank you. That's very interesting. I'm going to take a second to tell you guys about an amazing company. I know we've been talking about health a lot in this episode, and one way to feel healthier is by eating things that are nourishing to your body. And eating better doesn't have to be boring or bland. Sakara makes organic, ready-to-eat meals with nutritious and delicious plant-based ingredients that are designed to help you look and feel like your best self. They have meal programs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that are delivered right to your door, ready to eat. They're specifically designed to enhance your energy, improve digestion, and help with healthy balancing. The menu of chef-crafted dishes changes weekly so you don't get bored. My favorite thing about it was each meal highlighted a superfood that was in that meal. So you also get to learn a little bit about what's in your food, what it's doing for your body. My favorite meals so far have been the beet burger. And then I don't remember the name of the noodle dish that I had. I think it was like kung fu noodles. Oh my gosh. It was so good. And right now, Sakara is offering the listeners $60 off their first order when they go to sakara.com/mama. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/mama, MAMA, to get $60 off your first order. Sakara.com/mama. I'm always hesitant to ever, because I've had a few issues. I wouldn't say issues, but just being a female, you know, I've always been super hesitant to ever put a hormone, I guess, in my body because,
thank God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a little over a year ago, I'm going to get real TMI right now. I had some stress going on in my life. My grandma had passed away, and my next cycle that I got was extremely heavy to the point where I ended up making a doctor's appointment because I was like clotting. I would bleed through everything every 30 minutes. I was on my bathroom floor crying. Like my boyfriend at the time, Vito, he came over and he was like trying to hold me. And I was just like a disaster because I'm like, am I dying? What's happening? Because I had never had it be that bad before, even though I normally have a very heavy flow. So I made a doctor's appointment. They found like a little polyp like outside of my cervix, removed that. But then he was like, it seems like a hormonal imbalance. We can get you on something to regulate that. And I was like, no, I just want to see like how my next few cycles are. And then for me, my first thing that I go to is diet. I'm like, okay, I feel like my diet,
Right.
I mean, although my diet has not been perfect in the last, between getting married and being crazy and moving and whatever, it's something that I'm very excited to get back on track with. But for me, that's always been like, okay, I need to adjust my lifestyle because I'm super stressed out.
Yes.
My grandma passing, I think, just added to that. And then at that time, I had been working 2 jobs. I was extremely stressed out. I had just moved to Chicago. And it's like, okay, I need some tender love and care from myself. And I need to look at, that fast-paced lifestyle that I'm living. Now, so Vito and I, we've talked a lot about family planning, although we're not quite ready. But one thing we've talked a lot about is adjusting our health and our diet before that happens as well, because the life cycle of an egg is 120 days. And I want to do like a full detox and cleanse and then just nourish my body for 120 days before we start trying.
Right.
But do you find it
Great
beneficial to test out all of your hormones individually before you try to conceive, or do that like after maybe if you have problems?
So here's what I'll tell you. Okay. I can tell you the number one reason why women are sick and actually infertile today. Okay. And I'll explain men are dramatically different, because men and women are dramatically different no matter who tries to tell you they're not. Okay. Because here's what happens. When you look at women, their biochemistry is majorly, number one, thrown off by far dominant by mental stress. Mm-hmm. Okay. Guys, it's by sugar. Okay. How you take care of a woman and how you take care of a guy is dramatically different. Okay. So let's start with the woman. When you look at any stressor to a body, see, I always tell people this. I'll say, ladies, who stresses out more, men or women? Maybe women say, obviously women. I say, who causes women a little stress? Men. Right? Now, okay, so I tell people, I said, that's why and the reason why I preach that is because I say, guys, this is not a joke. Thank God you got a wonderful guy, Liz, because I can show you that if your relationship stresses you out, it can make you extremely sick. See, when your grandma passed, there was a huge demand on you mentally, and therefore, guess what happens? Your cortisol levels were actually at a higher demand. Well, guess what? Women's progesterone is directly connected to their mental stress cortisol and cortisone, but guys' testosterone is not. It's why, Liz, if you have a very rough day, your sex drive is gone. Yet your husband can tell you about how bad work was, everything like this, it's crazy, and still have sex that night because his testosterone is not connected to stress. See, that's why men can stress out and handle it better than women. And I know a lot of women are like, "Oh, doc, you're taking a man's side." No, I'm not. I'm saying a man should recognize that if you stress out a woman, not only, for example, is it bad to do one thing, but it's also you're going to make them sick. So knock it off. Okay. I have 5 women in my house. I try to create the atmosphere so my wife does not stress out, and my little girls do not stress out. And I've been together with my wife for 20 years. Okay. Now I've been married 18. And so the cool thing is this. So that's, and here's what I have to say, doc, can that be tested? Yes, it can. See, there's so many times I can literally tell you that I'll test a woman, I'll look at her cortisol levels, and listen, yes, she can be eating inflammatory foods. See, that's why inflammatory foods are worse for women than they are for guys. Because once again, their progesterone is definitely connected. So when grandma died, you put a massive amount of stress on yourself unknowingly because you lost somebody you dearly loved. But then guess what happens? Progesterone actually counteracts estrogens. Estrogen levels are made to produce tissue cells very quickly. That's why when that progesterone low and your estrogen levels went crazy, your cycle was so clotty and thick and had to contract like delivering a larger baby to get out.
Yeah.
See, I can sit there and explain to you all these things that happen on a regular basis because I'm always thinking, what is normal biochemistry and what is normal physiology and the stressors to one's body. So as a doc, being a carpenter doc, it's my job to figure out what stresses out a woman's body. Number 1, mental stress. Number 2, the foods that they're eating.
Yeah.
Okay. And you need to check what foods are inflammatory for each of somebody. My history, here's what happens. You know what was driving my brain nuts? I'm allergic to eggs.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I actually have an anaphylactic. Now we say, doc, wait. I want you to eat organic, good, perfect eggs. Well, good. I'll organically die. Okay. I don't like toxins. I don't like anything bad for the body. You should never eat anything toxic, okay? It's a stress to the body. That's why people say, Doc, I can eat whatever I want. No, you can't. Your body still has to respond to that stressor, okay? And that's where people change their diet, and actually they see good changes because they're stressing the body out less, okay? And that's where you can actually test those things to see what are stressful to a woman's body. But the guys too, it's important on both sides and stuff like that. So, and that's when you start to evaluate those things and look at it not from a disease standpoint. See, medicine and the fire department thinking, there's always learning about diseases. That's why you're about breast cancer, diabetes, cancer. Yeah, but guess what? Those are all preventable. You're not genetically programmed for a disease. You're not genetically programmed to get breast cancer. I'm getting a big podcast about this one about the BRCA gene. You can have BRCA genes all day long and never get breast cancer whatsoever. But if your estrogen levels get high and you have BRCA gene, it's a bad day. Okay, your estrogen level is normal. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, and so it's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. So by actually starting to test and evaluate all the women's stressors of their life, then they can choose to start removing them. See, that's the good part. It's just that we have a system, both medical and natural. Remember, naturopath, natural treatment of the pathology, natural fire department things. That's why you have people go, well, I'm going to use this naturally and this naturally. Well, you're still just trying to treat a disease without drugs and surgery with just more natural things. And that's why there's a big fight. I don't think there's a fight. I think let you guys do what you want. It doesn't change my job. I'm coming from a whole different approach. See, so the only time I ever get frustrated is when they tell people there is no other way.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because now that's just because you can't think differently doesn't mean you're right. And I would tell people, if you want to debate statistics, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, infertility, everything, for example, has nothing to do with awareness. It's dramatically increasing every year. And it doesn't matter if we have universal health care or if we have private pay. We have to start thinking differently about it. So start removing stressors. Now, one thing about guys. Guys, for example, are at an all-time low for testosterone, okay? And it's not because their testicles aren't working, okay? It's just that a lot of guys don't realize that the second most common cancer to men next to prostate cancer is breast cancer because they're converting their testosterone into estrogen by aromatase it, just like women do. Aromatase it, the number one thing that does that for guys is sugar. So guys, you want to get a better health overnight? Stop the sugar.
I gotta tell my husband because he has such a sweet tooth, and I'm more of like a fruit type of, like if I'm gonna have something sweet, I'd rather have like Italian ice or like frozen fruit. He's all about the cookies and things like that. So, and I tell him all the time that I'm like, babe, calm down. Because he's the guy too. He has washboard abs. He's so annoying, and he can't just have one cookie. He'll eat 6. And I'm like, babe, you can't just down 6 cookies. He's like, I'm like, no, just because like you don't think maybe it's affecting you, it is.
Well, what people do, especially guys, they confuse fitness with health.
Right.
They do. They confuse fitness with health. Because I can show you thousands of labs that guys that have washboard abs and they actually work out like crazy and they have no sex drive and their testosterone sucks. You understand?
Yeah.
See, so I tell people, that's why people say, Doc, I eat a healthy diet. My question is, have you been tested to find out what you can and cannot have? No. And you are generalizing. Because I can show you multiple women that actually are allergic to avocados that destroy in their health, destroying their hormones and cause cancer. You understand? See, so that's like this concept. And you say, Doc, well, you have a master's in nutrition. You learned that avocados are good for you. No, avocados, the ingredients and what they can deliver, if your body can take it really well, avocados, I eat them on a regular basis, okay? Last night, I was cutting up as me and my wife and kiddos were making supper because we have food's important to us, obviously, because of what we do for a living. So we only do organic. We don't touch anything. There's no gluten, dairy, corn, or soy, which once again, soy is very destructive to a woman in so many ways. It should never be touched, okay? And what happens is I was just cutting up some avocado and I ate little chunks of it that way. Do you understand? So, but guess what? But I'm also not allergic to avocados. It doesn't bother me. I can do it. But I can show you countless people that cannot have them. So it's really about very specific, individualized, carpenter-based thinking to go, what does your body need, Liz? And how can we actually find out what's the stress to it? And what does your body need to build on a regular basis? You understand? And that's the coolest part. So when I had this idea when I was 20 years ago, I thought all the doctors are going to be like, great, this is awesome. Let's start working this way. Actually, it's totally opposite. Actually, like going, Who are you? You're young. You're one of those natural doctors. You have your license from a Cracker Jack box. Mm-hmm. 20 years later, they don't say that anymore. You say the only people that do is that what happens is when you challenge somebody's thinking. You say it's like and so I tell people, listen. That's why I do so many podcasts. That's why actually I was approached by a publisher to have the book, and then that book became such a worldwide seller, and that's why the new book coming out, I Disagree, actually was bought out by another publisher that said, listen, we got to get this information out to worldwide, to everybody that way, because if we don't change our thinking, 10 years from now, I've been saying the same thing, so obviously, Liz, for 20 years. You know I have not changed what I said in 20 years? Not the same, because the biochemistry and physiology doesn't change.
Yeah.
Yet medical procedures and that thinking changes all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you're not challenging your thinking, you're not growing as a person. So you have to at least be open to and receptive to hearing different things, because that's how you create tolerance and acceptance in the world. Like, even if you're like, hey, I don't agree, but I'm going to listen to what you have to say, you know?
Yes.
But I mean, I do love your approach. Do you, I guess, like, do you go further into not just like hormonal things or like fertility and stuff like that? Does somebody come to you and be like, oh, well, like for me, I've had problems with my knees forever, but I also know part of it is I need to eat anti-inflammatory foods, and I don't always, and that does make a difference in how my joints feel. But do people come to you with things like that?
Well, here's what happens. As my career started off, like I said, yes, people know the story about my wife, and talking about female issues and stuff like that, obviously I always tell people. My actual career, how I really started off because of my own experience being sick as a kid, was my heart was actually children. And so I started taking care of children right away too. And then the moms would go, this makes sense. Does this work for me? I'm like, well, if you think about it this way, here's what I'll tell you. All stressors to the body responds in a certain way. It's called inflammation. If you have trauma, there's inflammation. If you have mental stress, there's inflammation. If you have something toxic, abnormal food, it's inflammation. So therefore, once again, we have a whole healthcare system. Once again, the fire department thinking responds to that inflammation either naturally or medically. You know, okay? And I said, listen, okay, I don't care what you do on that side. So you can read all about anti-inflammatory herbs and anti-inflammatory medications and foods and stuff like that. I'm going, well, there's also, I will challenge the whole concept of anti-inflammatory foods, because people say avocados. Well, I can show you that you're inflammatory for them if you're tested. You know, see, so that's why I don't generalize with anybody that way. But on the flip side, I'm saying, listen, you need to fight finding all the inflammatory triggers, these stressors to a person's body. So what it comes down to, it doesn't matter if you have a ingrown toenail, infertility, a GI problem, diabetes. What we do is actually evaluate and figure out what that person's inflammatory for. And the one thing they find out, when you start reversing those inflammatory things, guess what happens for the need for medical or even natural care? It starts to go away. So your body's genetically programmed for health. You're not, I don't know how, well, I know why they did it. You were not genetically programmed for disease. Think about this, Liz, right now. Your lungs are breathing and you're not thinking about it. There's so many unconscious things that are genetically happening every single day, and you have no control over it. It's our blueprint that way, but it's programmed to work properly. Your body, for example, and this is where the concept of natural medicine and medicine itself has a hard time with this concept. When I start to realize this, and I put this out there, and this is tough because doctors don't believe this. And this is why they have a problem with some of the things I speak. Your body doesn't make mistakes. You do. Your body's genetically programmed to respond to a stressor. Right now, as you know, in the Midwest, it's snowing like crazy. We got about 6 inches out there. It's dirt cold. If I walk out there in a T-shirt and shorts, my body is going to actually get stressed out, and it's going to pull all the blood to its core. Your body didn't make a mistake. It actually does everything to survive. And you can test that biochemistry, and they say, look, you're sick. No, I'm not. I'm trying to survive the stressors. Your body does everything to survive. It will even develop cancer cells. It will do everything it can to survive that stress. That's why when I tell people you start pulling the stressors away, now genetically your body responds properly. It's like if I attack you right now, if we were in a room together, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar all change. If we pulled your blood right away, they say, oh my goodness, look at Liz, you have so many problems. And I sit there and go, no, your body's responding to the stress. Let's figure it out. Let's do it. It's a very different but very basic concept. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I tell people, it's like when I looked at my wife's things, why she had endometriosis so bad, I looked at going, number one, the testing was incomplete. But then their whole process, she was taking a ton of medications. They wanted to rip her uterus out. Remember, if the hose and water doesn't work, then the only thing they have left was surgery to rip it out. And I said, no, your uterus isn't meant to work that way. You're genetically programmed to have a normal uterus. So what's stressing out? And I started to find those. We started to reverse those processes that way. And that's the cool part. So it doesn't matter what you have. And see, because all of us have the same objective. They want to be healthy. Well, how many drugs and surgeries do we need to be healthy? How many natural supplements do we need to take a day to be healthy? See, that doesn't even sound right anymore. We got to figure out what each body needs and repeatedly give it to it that way. And here's what happens. It changes. You see what I'm saying? Here, this got me I didn't realize this was going to go viral. When I looked at female hormones, I started to map out female hormones because your husband's from the time he's puberty to the time he dies, it's straight across. His hormones are like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A woman's hormones are cyclic. They change 4 times in the month. So when I was laying it out, I was looking at the woman's pattern and I realized that women's hormones change 4 times in the month. You know what that means, Liz? That means physically and mentally you change 4 times in the month.
Makes sense.
Your husband is really married to 4 different women. He's comes home to a different woman every week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And women know this. Here, watch this. I'm going to make you laugh. This is kind of funny because I started to realize when I started to listen to women, I started to go this. Ladies, listen to who's listening to this podcast. Think about this. There's one time in the morning you get up and you put your bra on and your boobs are nice and full. And then next week you put your bra on and they're a bunch of shriveled raisins. Okay? Because why? Your body hormone pattern changes, so your breast tissue changes every single week.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's a psychological component. Do you know last night when you posted about the winter blues and things like that? You understand statistically, according to Harvard Medical School, 6 out of 10 women sometimes take some form of antidepressant. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of women that are on antidepressants not because they're depressed. It's because they don't realize that their hormones go up and down through the month, and they think that something's wrong. And all women today are trying to act like men, push like men, aggressive like men, and don't realize that their emotions are going to go up and down and think they have to be stable like men, and they're starting to actually do what? They're starting to hurt themselves as women. And it's not doing us any good. And so once again, that's why the whole feminist movement hates sometimes the way I preach, because we are dramatically different. Your husband can push his body and it loves it. And testosterone goes up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A woman stresses on her body, her hormones are depleted. And that's what we're doing to women today. It's very sad. And then they come test with us. I'm going, no joke. I was laying on the phone with a doctor today because she's so sick. She gets through the day barely. I have her actually have her hormone test right here on my phone. And once again, and she takes care of patients all day long. And she's not a natural doctor and stuff like that. She's a doc. And she's like, my hormones are so depleted, I can barely get through the day.
Yeah.
And she goes, the only thing that helps me is if I take a little bit of Adderall.
That just depletes them more, right?
It does, but see, that's why people end up on drugs.
Yeah.
Because because here's what happens. Well, I'm going to go take liquors for a little bit. Okay, that'll help for a little bit, but if you didn't get rid of stressors, natural things always fail first. At least drugs can force the body to do something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, I feel like first of all, with the feminist thing real quick, I believe it's about equality of basic human rights and things like that across the board, which has nothing to do with this. I feel like part of my feminine journey is learning and understanding my body so I can best nourish it to be the best woman I can be.
Oh, trust me, I just let you know, I'm hugely involved in politics, and most of the feminists attack me, try to tell me that women are actually the same as men. So trust me, we have a different perspective on it. I'm huge about equal rights. I'm huge about that. My wife has just as equal rights as I do, but my wife is not me and I'm not her.
Right.
That's the part. I literally have women get up and walk out of my seminar because and I said, it's cool. And I'm okay with it because they think they're us. Just like if a man would think we're you. If your husband thinks he can have a baby, guess what? Divorce him because he's suffering from psychosis. Okay? Vice versa. Our bodies, and here, what people get the mistake on is this. Let's take you and your husband, for example. If you guys both have a stressful situation, you already experienced this. You had a bad stressful situation when your grandma passed. And guess what? If you could not recover from that, your body would eventually give out. Your husband, if he was stressed out just as much, his body could handle it. So the whole idea when I say that, it's like women are saying you're disempowering women. No, I'm not. I'm protecting women. Because why? Because they have to understand that mental stress will crush their body. If they don't, then they go, I don't know why my cycle changed. And then what did your doctor say right away? Let's try to regulate it. How can you regulate it with things which was by birth control, which he would have given you, which by nature is classified as a hormone disruptor, not a hormone regulator, disruptor. See, so that's where, for example, we have to start looking at these things and have those discussions. I'm all about having discussions. It's just that what they do is when they don't like what you say, then they classify you as masculine. No, I'm trying to actually show you basic biochemistry and physiology and how to actually work with both realms and really do well with it that way. Heck, I would tell people, when people come to my seminar, if they just listen to what I'm trying to say and what we're doing, I'm trying to tell people, say, listen, if we don't get this right, there's going to be more infertile women. There's going to be more breast cancer. There's going to be more sick women in history. And if we don't think differently about this, guess what happens? You think we're going to have a political debate about healthcare? It's only, remember, think of it this way. There's a debate in healthcare because people are so darn sick. And it's getting expensive. It's getting expensive because people are sick. If we didn't have sick people, remember, I pay virtually nothing for healthcare. Zero. You saying? Because why? Because I don't need it. Now, people say, well, doc, you have major medical. Yes, because if I get hit by a car, I want to go to the best surgeon here at the hospital, and guess what? Fix my broken leg. And that's what it's for. But healthcare insurance from that standpoint is very cheap and effective. But if you're consistently going in on a regular basis, it gets very expensive, and we got to change the view of what we're doing with this. Otherwise, remember, I always tell people, anybody can argue. Let me ask you a question. Are we sicker? Are we healthier? Divorce rates are at over 66% right now. Because why? We don't understand each other anymore. We don't understand that men and women are so dramatically different. We are not the same.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. And I feel like two things, like you said something about, the health, we're getting sicker. And there was a statistic that I've shared on here before that the United States prescribes 90% of the world's drugs. That is outrageous to me, a little bit. And that's like a statistic that you can't argue with. And if you look deeper, it's like, okay, why? Are you saying that we just have more sick people here? Okay, yes, then why? Like, if people want to get mad about that statistic, it's like, there's not a good answer for it,
But they do. And when people disagree with you, they can't attack your thinking or idea. They have to attack the person. See, so that's why, for example, I don't get in arguments with people. If you want to talk about ideas, let's talk about them. Right. You see? That's why I've invited, and remember, and I speak to major medical conferences, big medical schools, natural schools, everything like that on a regular basis, because when I go and share these ideas, they go, that's true. But you know what the biggest question I got last time I spoke at a medical school down in Texas was, will insurance pay for this? Insurance is fire department services. It's not healthcare services. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it pay for our food, all the good stuff for us, gym membership, things like that. And see, but what happens, that's why you'll notice. I guarantee with what you even do, once again, you don't have fans of everybody that like you.
Right.
You're saying? Because when you start to say, women, here's the products, here's good toxic living you can have. And just by you doing good things, there's people that don't believe what you do, and they'll attack you. And they'll say, well, that girl was on The Bachelor. She's just trying to get attention and things like that. You're saying? I guarantee you've already dealt with that. I get hate mail every day. You're saying? Because see, here's what happens. There's a lot of people that don't want to hear a different way of thinking. You're saying, you do this podcast. I've looked at all your stuff in depth. You're just giving women a really good option. I'm quite impressed, you're saying, with what you've done. But once again, you have to get people to change their thinking and do it. That's why you do a podcast. Right. You're saying? And then people have to, when you give them stats, when you look at, it's like that. There's a good saying: facts don't care about your feelings.
Right.
You're saying? Because why? Because people get emotional when they talk about those things. So, good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like it's, first of all, whenever I don't get tons of hate mail or anything like that, but I just, one thing that I've always stuck to is like, if you hate my podcast or if you don't like what I'm doing or whatever, you're just not my people, and it doesn't really matter. My job, I feel, is just to educate women on their options. I just want you to have all the options laid out in front of you so you can make the best educated decision for yourself moving forward, which is why I love bringing different people on. Another thing too, I just feel like with the stressors, the mental stressors in society, we are so disconnected with ourselves, with each other. We're like in a digital age now, and we do not have time to sit with ourselves, with our thoughts, be alone in silence, like anything, even just to properly take care of our bodies. So I feel like the way that we're such go, 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 I mean, it makes sense that mental stress is one of the biggest things, especially, I mean, women have this whole, we can, we're supposed to know how to do it all and we can do it all. And it's like, yes, you can, but you also need to take care of yourself. You need to figure out what's best for you, for your family, for your health. You're only going to be able to do it so long if you push yourself so hard.
That's where the one part you're right on track, but I'm going to disagree with you on this. No, ladies, you can't do it all. See, that's the big difference, because your kids don't have to play 3 sports. You don't have to be super mom all the time. And you want something like this? Ladies, look at the 3rd week of your cycle. The demand on your body internally is so big that if you're not resting on a regular basis through that 3rd week, you're going to make yourself sick. See, this is the part that we have to stop telling women that they can do everything. I'm sorry, Liz, but I will disagree with you on that because I can clinically show you women are getting so damn sick at this, and and that's the bad thing. Women, you can do everything. No, you can't. You know what I'm saying? No, you can't. I believe that you are strong mentally. I believe that you are beautiful. I believe I obsess about the female body because it's so darn cool. Do you see what I'm saying? But I'm also going to protect you from the simple fact that when they're perpetuating that thought that you can do everything, it's making you sick. It's making you stressed out. And you're comparing yourself to women and wonder why women are so darn sick today. You know what I'm saying? Stop telling people that. It should not say you. It says stop putting that burden on you. You don't have to bring your kids every sport. You don't have to do all these things. It's ridiculous because it's making women sick. Now, if you can keep it peaceful, if you keep it that you're not stressed out, because ladies, every time that you're mentally stressed out, your hormones drop. I can scientifically show you that. I can physically show you that. I can show you that in diagnostic tests. It's shown in every basic lab on the planet that way. And here's what happens. The one thing that you said that was about your history, the lot bothered me a little bit. Women need 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Women, not children. Women, their circadian rhythm is so important for them to build up hormones through the night that they got to be in bed between 9 and 10 o'clock. They got to sleep at least 8 to 9 hours. If they do not, it's a physical stressor to the body. And that's the bad part. Now, if your husband gets 6 hours sleep, guess what happens to him?
He's great.
See, that's the thing. So that's the thing. We got to stop perpetuating things that, yes, women can do it. No, you can't. Do you know something? But you can do so many things that males can't. Why don't we glorify that? Why don't we glorify the beauty of women? Why don't we glorify, for example, of all the great characteristics they have instead of telling them they can do it all? Because what they mean is do it all is do what their neighbor thinks they could do and their neighbor thinks to do. The sad part is it's making women sick. And that's why I will sit and speak out about anybody that tries to tell that stuff to people. Because you know something is this? Healthcare is, remember, come and see me is not cheap. Come and see my office is not cheap. You know why? Because once again, they have to go in a realm to recover because they're so stressed out. I don't want people to do that. I want people to live healthy, vibrant lives on their stuff, not be so stressed out thinking that they can actually, I see women do this all the time. I sit with them after the day. And like I said, I've been a clinician for 20 years. I'll sit with a woman and just them sitting in the room. I'll say, first of all, take a deep breath. And she'll tell me the 20 different things she did that day. You know something? I've never had a woman tell me how much she's enjoyed it in thousands and thousands of things, but she feels like she has to. I said, did you wonder why you're getting sick? She goes, I know, doc. I literally had a patient on Monday who's a strong businesswoman in Chicago. Her name is Kristen, okay? I've taken care of her 5 years. She had so many female hormone problems, and I actually got her new test back, and her cortisol levels were still high. I said, Kristen, damn it. I said, here's what happens. I love you dearly, but here's what goes on. If you don't stop stressing out, and this is not a joke, this is my 3-month follow-up with her on just this past Monday. She said, doc, I told work no. I told all these things this way. I told my husband, stop stressing me out. And she's a type A. She's more of a type A than I am. Mm-hmm. And she goes, lo and behold, it was the best energy levels I had. My cycle was the best. I actually had less depression and things like that. And she goes, yep, I took a lot of California poppy, like you told me, and stuff like that, which does calm your nervous system down. And see, it's like, and I said, Kristen, I absolutely love you. Thank you. Now, please continue that because I want you to live a long, healthy life. She goes, Doc, you know me. I'm going to probably push hard again. I said, I know. And I'm going to have to give you about $2,000 worth of stuff to compensate for your sassiness. Giggled because she knew that, yes, I can help her body adapt to her stressors. But boy, that gets expensive.
Yeah.
I want women to not stress out.
Yeah. I mean, I like that you said, let's glorify women for like what they can do. I do agree that our bodies function in completely different ways.
Yes.
I just feel the way that society is right now is that women do it all. They're expected to do it all. And then you feel like you have to do it all. And that's why I'm also very passionate about this, is creating a community for support, and a community where women can help each other figure out like motherhood. You know, I have a new kid who's not sleeping. How do I do this? And somebody can be like, hey, this is what worked for me. This is what helped me through it. You know, and just that community and that support of, hey, mama, I know that you're new at this, but you're going to get through it. And I promise you, like, you know, you're doing the best that you can. And, I feel like community is so important. And that's also, again, we've gotten so out of touch with a lot of that. I mean, most communities these days are digital again. It's online. You have your Facebook group, you have your whatever, but do you know your neighbor next door? You know, like it's so, I mean, I'm very thankful for it, but I just feel like we have to get so much more in touch and figure out what you can do. And I've heard the sleep statistic before, and I've used that many times in my relationship, because men, it says like 6 to 8 hours and women 8 to 10 or something like that. And I'm like, I need 8 or 9 hours of sleep. So.
Yes, they do. And here, so I want you to do, for all you women listeners, here's what I want you to do. Get your men to me. Get your men to me.
Girl.
You know why? Not for care. Get your men to me, because I always tell women this. I look at men in my seminar and I say, don't you dare ever say anything bad to a woman. But you know why? You know why you never say bad to anything bad to a woman?
Because you're going to stress her out.
Yes, because here's what happens. By the time it's lunchtime for women, they've already said 10 bad things about themselves already. You don't need to say bad things to women. They already speak that way to themselves every single day. Us guys, we have testosterone. We think we're awesome every day just by getting out of bed. Okay? So that's us as guys. See where dramatically there's testosterone does that to us. Women's estrogens are very connecting. They're very emotional. And see what happens is, once again, that's why women say, well, we're just as sexual as men. No, you're not. Stop it. You're not. You never can be. Okay? But here's what happens. Get your guys to me, because you know why? Because I will literally, I have sat across. I'll give you a funny story for you. One day, this was probably about 10 years ago in practice, when I was in full-time practice. I had a guy come into my front desk in the afternoon, totally ticked off, okay? And he wasn't leaving until he was talking to me. So all of a sudden, I said, okay, he screamed at my front desk. I said, okay, have him put back in the room. And so my other docs are kind of giggling because they know it was going to happen. The husband sat down with me. He goes, I want to have a serious talk with you. I said, okay, what's your problem? I said, first of all, sit down or I'm going to punch you in the head.
Oh my
okay,
God.
okay, but respect. And I said, listen. He goes, my wife, for example, came home and said, I'm the reason why she's sick. And I said, dude, look at how you're talking to me. I'm going to punch you in the face in about 2 seconds. If you talk to me like that and you don't even know me, I can imagine how you talk to that beautiful woman that should leave your ass. Okay? And he looked at me. I said, you go home and you apologize to your wife for being such a jerk for all these years, making her sick, because she thinks about you all day and thinks about how you're a jerk all day and you're causing her to be sick. See, this is not a joke. I think women are absolutely one of the most, they're just amazing. And guys don't realize what they go through physiologically. Guys, like I said, our testosterone is like this all the time. So I say, get the guys to me, because I tell guys all the time, don't stress out your girl. Don't. It's a bad thing. You'll make them sick. And guess what? You're driven for money. If you want to spend a lot of your money, make that woman sick, because you will actually cost you a lot of money, both medically and naturally, if you don't watch this. So I'm telling you right now, that's where I say, listen, and all the women are all in my seminar standing up going, you tell them, doc. You say, well, because why? Because it's true. Just do this. Ladies, do me a favor. Type in steroid hormone pathway in Google search and just look. Progesterone is directly connected to cortisol. Your mental stress hormone will deplete that major calming, relaxing estrogen antagonist hormone. And look at the testosterone. It's not connected. It's not. So when I was in my early 20s going, oh my goodness, If I stress out my wife mentally, it's going to make her sick. It's going to hurt her. When I say that, a lot of people giggle, but they don't. You say, and it's not that women aren't strong. Heck, I've never said that. But what I will say, and I can prove this scientifically, is if a man and a woman are stressing about the same thing, his body will stay that way. Hers will eventually deplete. And then what happens? They have high, bad menstrual cycles. Their periods get clotty. They actually end up depressed. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my aspect about saying that men and women are so dramatically different when it comes to stress.
It's just not fair, Doc.
Okay? Hey, talk to the guy upstairs. I didn't create the biochemistry of the human body. I just recognize it different than everybody else.
I want to just go through life and not have stress affect my hormonal levels.
Well, and remember, and always recap this. I know we're talking about a lot of mental stress, but you've done an amazing job on your podcast trying to bring awareness that guess what? Foods can stress the body out,
right?
Or they can be a great thing for the body. You're saying trauma. You're saying, if you ever think about it this way, physical trauma, toxic things, and stress, mental stress, deplete the body. And it's rougher on women's bodies than on guys. See, it's kind of funny. It's like, so what we need to do is start looking for all those toxic things in your life, okay? And that goes from toxic people. And here's what happens this. Do you know why women need community more than men do? Because estrogen is a very connecting hormones. That's why women are so connective that way. Do you know what's really funny? And that's why you guys need communities. You know what I'm saying? A guy can be a loner. Do you know why? Because testosterone is actually increased by stress. He thinks he's awesome because testosterone gives us great confidence. So he can go and talk to his buddies once every week. You know what I'm saying? Or not talk to anybody for a week. You know what I'm saying? Women need connection. So guys, let me teach you this. If you want to make your wife very healthy and happy, guess what happens? You can have a really ugly guy with a really pretty girl, and all the guys go, how'd that happen? Well, guess what? He knew how to connect, which actually stimulates her estrogen productions. And so therefore, she releases all those love, oxytocin hormones and serotonin with this, so he can keep him, regardless of his pretty face, and keep that beautiful woman in love with him the rest of his life, if he knows how to stimulate her estrogens. I, for example, know how to take care of my wife, not just as a doctor, but emotionally and physically that way to actually really connect with her. Now people say, Doc, do you want to? No, I'm a guy. I'm testosterone. We're testosterone-driven creatures. You say, and until we, and that's why this whole concept of trying to make men more feminine is ridiculous. You say, that's a cultural thing. It's not a biological thing. Because then when you get guys together, there is no emotional cultural thing. That's why, and then what happens, we're very different. Our languages are very, very different. How you connect with your husband compared to you connect with your women group, Liz, is dramatically different.
Oh, very different. Yes.
And that's the key. So trying to feminize men is ridiculous. It's biologically impossible. You see what I'm saying? And the only men, for example, that have no sex drive are sick men. You saying? Their testosterone is nothing. The testosterone will make their body change even if they don't want to. Tomorrow morning, Liz, to show if your man has high testosterone and good testosterone, all you have to do before he gets up in the morning is lift up his covers. And his biology will actually be awake before in the morning.
Right.
You follow me? See, you laugh, but that's true. It's out of his control.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because his hormonal rhythm, like his circadian rhythm, his testosterone does the same thing. You see what I'm saying? It's out of his control. I want your husband chasing you every single day with his tongue hanging out. Well, no, Doc, that's not right. No, I'd say he gets sex every day. I'm saying he should have the desire for his wife every day. And if he doesn't, his testosterone levels are going down and he's physically getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You understand that, guess what? And all they have for them is synthetic testosterone cream, which causes anger and murder. Who said so? The box does. Because that synthetic testosterone is not your own testosterone. And instead of asking why the testosterone dropped and tell them, cut out the sugar, get all the inflammatory things away, we're just going to replace it with something that can cause aggression and murder because that's what the side effects are. Well, I can go on all day about this.
That is so crazy. Those are extreme side effects.
No, they're not. They're common side effects.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like such an extreme effect on you. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, that's true.
That's what I mean. Is it's like,
yes,
wow.
Yes, it's because why? Because your body will respond to the chemical messenger. See, that's why I said, if your husband's testosterone goes up in the morning like it's supposed to, he's going to get an erection. What if he says, don't do it? It's still going to do it because the chemicals are released.
Right.
When they give you synthetic chemicals, your body can't control what happens with that. And until it's used up, it's going to do it. It can even lead to great aggression and murder. And that's why if you look at, and on top of it, if you give a person testosterone cream or pill, you're not supposed to touch your wife because you can pass it to her and give her a mustache.
Oh, geez. I mean...
Oh, yeah. And this is what we have for both male and female hormones today. And I'm a crazy natural doctor. Here we go. So, yep.
Yeah, I know that, I don't remember, I had to have been so young. I remember I had to get on a progesterone cream for a little bit. I want to say I was in high school. I don't remember. Anything that I've ever tried in the past, I never did for very long. I was on birth control for like a month in my 20s. I was like, I hate this. And things like that.
Good.
But so people listening to this who are like, okay, I want to get tested to see maybe where my levels are at, or I want to at least start with maybe food to figure out what I have sensitivities to. Where do you recommend people to go?
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Here's where I'm going to speak very can I speak very candidly and honest to your podcasters?
Sure.
Your committee. Ladies, I have been a very successful doctor, own things all over the country. Don't need your business, don't need your money. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you that what you need to get tested, you don't need a doctor, you don't need a wellness way, you don't need me. Okay? See, that's when some people think I'm trying to go and get patients or sell books or things like that. No, I'm not. I'm good. Me and my wife can sit in Hawaii the rest of our life, never have to worry about anything in our life. We love Hawaii. Okay? So now I'm going to send 3 links to Liz to where she can just post how to get tested. That's it. See, you don't need a doctor. You don't need me to get tested. Labs are everywhere. Do you see what I'm saying? See, that's the only thing I'm asking of all of you guys, both men and women. Please get tested properly so now you can make decisions about your body. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
See, that's the thing. People say, well, doc, but there's nobody that thinks like you. That's why your wellness plays are so big. Yeah, it's true. Because then they need guidance. But here's what happens. But you still don't need any doctors. Now, there is a test. You can go right to the lab. I'll give you the lab's names. You can go right to them. Number 1, it's called the Dutch test. Okay? Mm-hmm. Once again, you get a Dutch test. They sell it right online. Do you understand? It's a urine test. Now, to get the complete pictures of hormones, you need blood markers. Okay? I will send Liz. It's posted on my website too. You can download it, take it to any lab, and get the labs tested. You need to fast because there's insulin on there because sugar affects your hormones. Okay, there's insulin on there. There's blood labs. You can go to any lab test now, LabCorp, Quest, anything that you can do to get your blood done. I don't care. Then there's another company that's called Immunolabs. They are the best food allergy testing company in the world. Now, once again, I have no ties to Dutch. I have no ties to Immunolabs. You don't even need to tell them that you got there from me. You're saying you can go on their line and just buy a test. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell you. I say, Doc, why are you on Liz's podcast? Because if all I can do is get women to have a good assessment of their body and start, and men too, okay, but we're talking about women because they're mainly there, and get them to realize that their cortisol levels are extremely high, which are shown in those labs. You need to watch the mental stress. And there's things that you have to do. And if your estrogens are low or high or things like this, there's things you need to do to get to normal. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something bad. You're going to end up with some healthcare condition. You're going to end up in some medical treatment because eventually you're going to try some natural things for a little bit, but without properly seeing what's going on, you're going to end up on some drug or surgery. That's why everybody ends up in drugs or surgery, even if they don't want to. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they're not coming from the right direction. So, Dutch test. I will send Liz the blood work. But here's what happens. If you go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Patrick Flynn, you go to my Facebook page, Dr. Patrick Flynn, here's what happens. Here's one thing I'll tell you this. Go at my stuff. I don't sell anything when I talk. Do you know why I don't sell anything? It's because if I have a woman that comes on and I'm talking about a specific case, each woman is different. I won't tell people what products and stuff to use because then they will say, well, that woman had endometriosis and they did this, so I'm going to buy that product. No, you're not that woman, even though you may have endometriosis. See, everybody is an individual. You need to get tested first. I will just teach you the thinking on my YouTube and on my Facebook and all my media and my seminars and things like that. See, that's a cool thing. That's why people go, Doc, you have nothing to sell. No, and if you want to get tested, you don't even need a doctor. You don't even need me. You see what I'm saying? I just want women to be assessed properly. So now, because think of this, Liz, we should do this, Liz. Liz, here's what happens. How about we do this? I will personally pay for it. So coming on your podcast, I'm going to lose money. Okay. I will pay for you to get your hormones tested properly if we can actually show them publicly.
Okay.
You understand? And I'll show you how bad your hormones are.
Oh no, okay? I'm scared.
I will actually. Okay. So I will have Brianna and my team, because I have a huge company, a huge, awesome team, send it to you, get the labs done. I'll pay for the cost of them that way. I'll get the food test done. I'll actually have your complete hormone test done. And guess what happens? I will assess you. And the cool thing is this, one thing I love about you don't, everything I said today, guys, fact check everything I said. Fact check, go online, look at everything, look at the labs I told you, look at everything I tell you, and actually say, hey, listen, does this guy make sense or is he full of crap? You're going to find out. All I teach is biochemistry and physiology and how the body works. I just think about it differently and come at a different direction. That's the only thing that separates me from everybody else, is how I think. That's it. And I believe that if I actually assess Liz properly, it's going to blow her mind.
I'm sure it would. I've actually never done a food allergy test, and I've been wanting to, because I notice intolerances in myself over the years, just things that I eat or whatever. And I'm like, wow, if I eat this in the morning, I don't feel good, Yeah,
because you wouldn't flame up.
Right.
You wouldn't flame.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
But I would actually love to do that, and I'm super open to sharing them publicly.
Good. So we'll do 3 tests on you. Food, because here's what happens. And ladies, let me tell you this. If you don't do urine and blood together, you can't have a full assessment of your hormones. They're incomplete. I'm the first ever doctor in the world to say that. And I'm proud of that. And I figured it out when I was 24 years old. 24. You say, that's why women say, Doc, I had some blood done. Cool. I guarantee your doctor did good levels, but it's still incomplete. It's like watching that clip of that movie on TV and say, honey, let's go watch that movie. And you get to the movie and realize it sucks because you finally got the full picture.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're going to send me all the links that I can post so that people listening can go get assessed. They can figure out where they're at and then figure out what next steps that they want to take. Also, you're going to want to have your boo listen to this, because he said, don't stress her out. So this is something that you're going to want to send your boo thing. Be like, listen, babe, the doctor said, don't stress me out. But yeah, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. You shared so much information. Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of leave off on?
I guess, for example, is this. The one thing that I've always said is this, is when you look at the man and woman, I want people, when I die, I want people to understand this about me. Number one is, for example, that men and women are so dramatically different. Please appreciate the biochemistry, the physiology, the physical and mental aspects of each man and woman, because you know why? Because as sexes, we're so different. And the cool thing is this. And as when we realize that, we can have a great appreciation of a man, we can have a great appreciation of a woman, and then what happens is this. And then if we both understand each other, and I truly believe that we would get along better. I truly believe that marriages would not be destroyed. Yeah. And that's why, once again, it's why churches are actually using my past Hormone Connection book as a premarital thing, because to understand, we think and we act so different. And I would never want my wife to think like me. I'd never want my wife to act like me, because she's beautifully and wonderfully made, and she's dramatically different because she's not me. Mm-hmm. And that's the best part. And if I can get that message across and I can show people this, I believe that I'm doing what God put me on this earth for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Flynn. Do you go by Dr. Flynn or Dr. Patrick Flynn?
I like Dr. Patrick. I said, I like you like to connect with people. So do I and stuff. I don't even people call me Patrick. I really don't care and stuff, because like I said, I just have a learning ability in one direction, just like you do and stuff like that. My degree calls me called doctor, but like I said, I'm just still a country boy that just loves what he does.
Well, I'm going to call you Dr. Patrick. But Dr. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on. I will leave some show notes and the information on my page. And yeah, I look forward to all of the listeners hearing this.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Bye. All right. So I learned so much from Dr. Patrick Flynn, and I'm super excited to take the test that he recommended. I know that I've shared that I've been dealing with some health stuff that I'm really trying to get under control before Vito and I try to conceive. And so I am going to take those tests ASAP and maybe share the results with you depending on what I find. But yeah, I hope that you guys learn something. Everyone can go to their husbands and be like, listen, you need to quit stressing me out because that affects me. So I hope everyone could take something away from this and learn a little bit of a different approach to your health. And if you want to continue the conversation, don't forget to check out the Facebook group where there's an incredibly supportive group of women there where we ask each other questions and just kind of have an awesome community. There's also the Miraculous Mamas Instagram page where I leave more information about the guests that come on, a few more resources, and then also my website, elizabethjoy.co. There's information about doula work and different resources for continuing your education while trying to conceive or pregnant. I can't wait to hear back from you guys and look forward to talking to you next week. I have some super exciting guests in the works. I don't know. I'm debating whether I should share with you who's coming on next week. Oakley Peterson. She's awesome. She's going to be on next week talking to us about her son, Wells. And yeah, I have a couple other guests this month that I cannot wait for you guys to hear from because they have such amazing stories and just so much to offer everyone. So I hope you have a wonderful week and I'll talk to you later.
Podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.